Hey, welcome everyone to another edition of Wizards Outlook. Cardell and I spoke with you guys earlier during Wizards pregame. We got Raymond Lyons here for Wizards Outlook, and this is the post game edition. Obviously, Ray, San Antonio beat Washington tonight, 119-94, in the first of two matchups. They'll have kind of a home and home this week with a couple days in between. While Washington will have a game maybe between the next two times, between the next time these two teams meet. San Antonio will. They'll be coming out east, and they'll have a game before they see the Wizards on Sunday. But Ray, we saw Washington for a half stick with San Antonio, and then we saw one of the all too familiar thing that third quarter, run by the opposing team, and San Antonio kind of dictated the terms of engagement in that second half. I just want to get your thoughts on what you saw and how you saw what you took from tonight's game.
Yeah, I think in the second half the Spurs just got way more aggressive on both ends. Yeah, like you said, the Wizards they hung around in the first half. It was competitive, but in the second half the Spurs just looked like they kicked it up another gear, and the Wizards weren't able to match it. Uh, Namely, Dylan Harper. He was just determined to get downhill every time he got the ball. Really, all the Spurs guards. I mean, you were kind of talking before we got on, and they just said, screw whatever strategy or game plan they had. They're just gonna be better and more athletic than the Wizards, and that's pretty much what we saw, man. And it translated defensively as well. Yeah, Wizards couldn't get anything going in the second half. Spurs their closeouts got a little more aggressive. Their own ball defense, they just kind of turned that up, and on the interior as well. Because if you look at the numbers, there's nothing really stands out for the most part. Um, but that's because the first half was so closely competitive. But yeah, the Spurs took control of the game in the second half, and that's how we get a 25-point game when it definitely didn't look to be heading that way uh, in the early third quarter.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that was I don't even want to say disheartening. Just it was tough to watch. Was watching the game uh, slip away, watching San Antonio take control of it, was because it wasn't the normal places we look. We get on here. This is the 25th game. I'm sure at least 20 times this season we got on here talked about how many points they conceded off of turnovers, how bad the turnover margin was, the points in paint. That was a difference in 10 points. Like you wouldn't think of, you would look at those things, and if you, like you said, you saw it tonight, you would go, well, that one of those things had to be overwhelmingly in the Spurs' favor for this to happen the way that it did. And like you said, it was just like the Spurs just kind of like weaponized their defense a little bit. You said the closeouts got tighter. They got a lot more aggressive on that end. There was one play on there's one series in the third quarter that kind of pointed that was I'm sure there you easily could have called a foul on Stephon Castle during the play this defensive possession I'm talking about. He was stuck between Sar and CJ, and he was on the block with Sar. He wedged Sar off the block, got out to CJ, put hands on him. Again, a foul could have been called, but going to what was it? Remember the thing we had in group chat the other day about somebody talking about the Thunder's defense was like, if you play with that aggression all the time, the refs aren't really gonna.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing that popped in my head during that second half was they're playing with a controlled aggression on the defensive end of the floor, and the refs were like, well, if all of you are doing it, I guess it is what it is, and if the rest is ideally is going to turn into the shoulder shrug, and they're in San Antonio, yeah, I feel like that was the difference. Their physicality we saw. You talked about Harper getting downhill, and then their bench, which it's not even really fair to say when you're bringing Wemby off the bench along with Harper. Uh, they have their Champagny, which is kind of nuts, but their bench has 68 points tonight. It's tough for anybody. That's tough to deal with. We saw the return of Alex Sarr, Bilal Coulibaly. to the Wizards tonight. I wanted to ask you what you thought about their return. I know it's only one game back so far. See how it looks as it continues, but
Um, it's good to see him out there. Kind of see the team starting to round back into some semblance of their full roster, but it was obvious they missed some time. And that's kind of to be expected. They just need to get their sea legs back up under them. Um, but I mean, Sarr played decent, 18 points on 8-18, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. But yeah, in a game like this, we need more than 4 rebounds from him. That's that's just never going to change. I don't. I get it. You missed some time, but yeah, you gotta, especially in that area, you gotta contribute. Bilal had a rough night. 3 points, 1 for 7, 4 rebounds, just 3 turnovers. So I mean that was he's missed a considerable amount of time this season. So he hasn't even had a chance to even try to establish any rhythm. So I mean, until he can stay on the floor for any type of consistent amount of time, it's going to be tough for him to kind of get back to himself.
yeah, like you said, I agree with you. With Sarr, it was great seeing him back, and I was with Bilal. Alex looked a little bit more comfortable in the first game back. But yeah, though I mean, honestly, you can sum this game up into the Wemby minutes and the non-Wemby minutes. The Wemby minutes were damning in this one. The spurts when he was on the court for those stretches, the game tilted. Just call it what it was. The game tilted, and it's not just the Wizards this has happened to. Against OKC, the game tilted during the Wemby minutes, and obviously, they're deep enough to withstand the non-Wemby minutes. But again, 68 points from the bench is nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They gave up what? They gave up 94. Their bench had 68. And Washington has one of the better benches in the league in terms of getting production from them, and got blown out the water tonight with that 68. But yeah, I just think the Wemby thing is something you can't really simulate, something you can't really deal with. But I know by the time they deal with them, I think one of the things they can control, well, they have to match physicality of the Spurs guards come Sunday. Like that has to. You can't control the Wemby part, but you have to match it, bro. Like I think they just see blood in the water. They're like, oh, we can get down there. Okay, we're gonna.
Mm-hmm.
How many? Like I think all of Castle's misses were threes. The majority of the misses were threes. I think he was 7-11 from the 7 from 4 and 1 for 5 from deep, if I remember correctly. And he stopped at 5, and in the second half, put his head down. That was it. And Harper took a few threes, but for the most part, they all just took turns getting downhill. Champagne might have been the only guy that was like, all right, I'll sit out here while y'all get downhill. And, him of sell a little bit. But yeah, that's something Washington has to do a better job. Carter was talking in the pregame, talking about it was a good test for Washington's young, their young group of wings, because San Antonio has a young group of wings, and San Antonio won round 1. So we'll see what it looks like on Sunday. But yeah, they got to match the physicality of those guards, man. They have to. And again, we talk about how the physical the Thunder are. These guys aren't too far off. Like they like playing like that. They're perfectly okay with it. Usually we see, guards these days, they get downhill is to get around somebody, to evade somebody. They want chest to chest. Like they want all not shoulder contact. They want center mass contact on all the time between Harper and Castle. And just a lot to deal with, man. All right, so before we get to play the game, I'm sorry. Congrats in order to Bub Carrington. Despite the loss, he reached the 1K point mark tonight for his career. Shout out to him. He eclipsed 1,000 career points. Carrington becomes the only player in franchise history aged 20 or younger to amass at least 1,000 points, 400 rebounds, and 400 assists. So, shout out to him for that. It's not just the 1K points, 400. Something to keep an eye on as he goes forward.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
he put together a pretty decent game too. He's starting to stack them on top of each other, which is good to see after his rough start.
For sure. All right, player of the game for you in this one.
Um, I went Dylan Harper, man. He just like that was allowed 24. Like he played 23 minutes, 24 points, 9 to 13. Yeah, he second half he just said put his head down and acted like nobody was in front of him, and that's what kind of started to create that separation.
Yeah, he had a crazy stretch there early in the second half, and yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. X factor for you.
Whew. Um, I go Castle, just for his impact on both ends. Like that one play you was talking about defensively, where he just basically nullified two people, went from guarding the center to getting out there and challenging the two, and just blowing everything up. So I'll give Castle the nod for tonight for X Factor.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I feel bad. Like I feel like I'm doing something wrong. From like it's Wemby, so I feel like I'm doing something sick. Wemby, like we know what we normally expect. So if you're on a minutes restriction and you get half of what you normally get, should we? Do you deserve X factor for giving us, for producing like literally giving us half of what you normally do in half the minutes, or do we just leave that alone? Um, I went with Luke Cornett. I went with
Mm.
Luke Cornett just because I know he's playing more with Wemby on a minutes restriction. I don't really feel like they lost those minutes, and you got to give them credit for that. Um, uh, it was weird seeing just how effective and easy it was being the roll man on the castle pick and rolls with him, and he was just getting free rolls to the rim for easy dunks, but also just as a rim protector. Thought he did a good job in that. Like Washington, even in the second half when Wemby was off the floor, Cornette still did a solid job protecting the rim. And we know, one of the things touched on pregame was Big Carter mentioned Bagley wanting him to continue the stretch that he's been on. And, he had a solid game with 13, but I think much of the reason that he only had 4 rebounds was Cornette. I think Bags was on the floor with Cornette more than Wemby. But yeah, I just think
Mm.
we asked you to come in and do a job and you did it. I can't knock you. And I can't knock you for the castle thing either. I'm just trying not to be, I think we kind of expect what both of those youngsters did. I almost I'll go Champagne and Cornette, but I expect that out of each Champagne. Threes and rebounds. I expect that. So I'll go with Cornette. All right, for Washington up next, we'll see you guys Sunday when they take on the Spurs in their building. You guys have a good night.